Israel's borders, negating the Palestinian demand for a right of return for the refugees in the 1948 war. Now, if this is the sticking point, there never will be a Palestinian state. By the way, if the Hamas in the Gaza Strip area continue their fight with the Fatah faction, the Palestinian Authority in the midsection of Israel's land, if those two can't get along, there will not be a Palestinian state either. Saeb Erekat, the chief Palestinian negotiator, said in a statement that, quote, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke about negotiations, but left us with nothing to negotiate as he systematically took every permanent status off the table, nor did he accept a Palestinian state. End of quote. Instead, Mr. Erekat said, he announced a series of conditions and qualifications that render a viable, independent, and sovereign Palestinian state impossible. Well, you see, Israel wants the Palestinian state to be a demilitarized Palestinian state. Now, that doesn't mean that all the guns are going to be confiscated, but it does mean that there will not be allowed a military or weapons of extensive destruction, such as rockets, Palestinian negotiators have long refused to recognize Israel as a Jewish state, contending that it would prejudice the refugees' demands for a right of return and would also be detrimental to the status of Israel's Arab minority. Well, Israel will have to do something with those Arabs who currently are Israeli citizens, live in Israel, work in Israel, pay taxes in Israel, and have representation in the Israeli Knesset. So the Palestinians are saying, if we recognize them as a Jewish state, that means that they'll disenfranchise all of the Arabs that live there. Well, let them have territory, jobs, and representation in the Palestinian Authority government. Why not? Mr. Netanyahu delivered his half-hour speech in Hebrew to an invited audience at the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies at Bar Ilan University outside Tel Aviv. The university, a leading Israeli institution established in 1955, is an academic bastion of Israel's national religious camp. Timed to coincide with the evening television news and broadcast live, the speech was rich in Zionist rhetoric and seemed aimed as much at the Israeli public as at the American administration. Well, why not? If you're the prime minister of a country, wouldn't you want to speak to your own countrymen? Anybody else who wants to listen in is welcome to do so, but hey, it's a speech by the head of Israel for the people of Israel. He called on all Arab leaders to meet him and talk peace, and for the Arab countries and entrepreneurs to cooperate in advancing the Palestinian economy and to engage in regional projects with Israel. Now, I think that's a noble view, that the Palestinians or the Arab countries around should pour money into building up the Palestinian economy. By the way, they could have been doing that for the last 60 years, but no. They're not interested, honestly. The Arab countries of this world are not interested in the economic survival of the Palestinians. Regarding Gaza, where Hamas holds sway, Mr. Netanyahu said it is up to the Western-backed Palestinian Authority to establish the rule of law there and to overcome the Islamic militant group. In other words, it's up to the Palestinians to govern themselves, to rule themselves, and to root out the terrorists among them. It's not Israel's responsibility. Never was. Israel retaliated when the Hamas began to shoot thousands of rockets, when the Hezbollah from Lebanon began to shoot more thousands of rockets into Israel. Now, what's a state to do? What's a people to do? But it is not up to them to eliminate the Hamas. It's up to the Palestinians. President Shimon Peres, the president of Israel, And you know, there's a president and there's a prime minister. So the president, Shimon Peres, in a statement that said that the speech made by the prime minister was, quote, true and courageous, end of quote, and that it constituted an opening toward direct negotiations for both a regional peace and a bilateral peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, I want you to know that according to the scriptures, the land will be divided. Regardless of what speeches are about, and how the Palestinian state is supposed to be demilitarized and that they cannot have Jerusalem as their capital, they will. The Bible says the land will be divided and that the Temple Mount will be divided. The Jews will be allowed to have part of it to set up temple worship, but the Palestinians will maintain their Muslim presence on the Temple Mount. That's what the Bible says. So I think we're very close to that happening. Now that Benjamin Netanyahu is carrying the whole nation toward, yes, let's have a Palestinian state. Now I realize the Palestinians leaders have said, oh, this is terrible. We never will recognize Israel as a Jewish state. And Hosni Mubarak said, that's the one sticking point we cannot abide by. We will not. In fact, Hosni Mubarak said that Benjamin Netanyahu just scrapped the whole deal. Well, I don't know whether Israel is going to be recognized as a Jewish state or not, but there will be a Palestinian state. You can count on it. There are too many prophecies that talk about the land being divided for gain. There are too many prophecies that talk about a wall being built. Ezekiel said a wall will be built to make a separation between the sanctuary, that's a Jewish sanctuary, and the profane place. And in Revelation chapter 11, John is told to measure the temple, but the court which is without the temple leave out, for it's given to the Gentiles. So you see, there will be a Gentile presence on the Temple Mount alongside a Jewish presence during the tribulation period. We must be close. I'm J.R. Church. We'll see you again tomorrow with our analysis of the news.